Welcome back to our channel.
Welcome. I am Lisa.
And I am Eric. If you improve your English easily, this podcast is perfect for you.
So, let's get started and make English learning easy. What are the words today, Eric?
The first word today is adamant. Then we will continue with dozy and to commit. Then to be into. And the final one is let the cat out of the bag.
Okay, let's start with the first word.
Our first word today is adamant.
Adamant.
Adamant. This is a strong and useful adjective in English. Adamant means being very determined and refusing to change your mind or opinion. Let me give an example sentence. Despite the rain, John was adamant about going for a run.
It means that John was very determined to go running. Even though it was raining, he wouldn't change his mind.
Good explanation. Now it's your turn, Lisa. Can you give us another example?
Sure. Here's another example. The teacher was adamant that all students must finish their homework on time. It means that the teacher was very strict and wouldn't change her mind about the rules. Students must complete their homework by the deadline.
Good example. Now, let's talk about how to use this word. Adamant is often followed by about or that. We can say adamant about something or adamant that something should happen.
Exactly. Now let's hear a short dialogue using the word adamant.
Sarah, it's time for bed.
But Mom, I want to watch one more TV show.
No, I'm adamant about your bedtime. It's important for your health.
Please, just 30 more minutes?
I'm sorry, but I'm adamant that you go to bed now. No exceptions.
Okay, I understand.
That was a great example, Eric. It shows how adamant is used to express a firm, unchangeable decision. So, Eric, is adamant a formal or informal word?
It's more formal than casual, but it can be used in both formal and informal situations.
That's good to know. Do you think it's a common word in English?
It's fairly common, especially when people want to emphasize how strongly they feel about something. Additionally, it's useful because it helps people express strong opinions or decisions clearly. It's stronger than just saying sure or decided.
That makes sense. Well, I think we've covered adamant pretty well. Shall we move on to our next word, Eric?
Yes, let's do that. Remember, listeners, using words like adamant can help you express strong feelings or decisions in English. Okay, the next word we're going to explain is dozy.
Dozy.
Dozy is an adjective that means feeling very sleepy. When someone is dozy, they feel like they could easily fall asleep. If you're dozy, you're not fully awake. You might feel slow or tired, like you need a nap. Now, let's look at our first example sentence. After the big lunch, I felt dozy and wanted to sleep for a while.
It means that after eating a lot of food, the person felt very sleepy and wanted to rest.
Exactly. Now, here's another example. The warm sun made the cat dozy, so it curled up and fell asleep. It means that the warm sun made the cat feel sleepy, so the cat decided to curl up and sleep.
Yes, like between being fully awake and asleep.
Exactly. Now, let's do a short dialogue to show how dozy can be used in a conversation.
Wow, that was a long walk. I feel so dozy now.
Yeah, me too. The fresh air always makes me feel dozy. Maybe we should take a short rest.
Good idea. I could really sleep right now.
Me too. Let's just sit here for a while and enjoy the sun.
In the dialogue, we heard dozy twice. Anna and Tom both felt sleepy after their long walk, and they used dozy to describe how they felt.
Yes, and this shows that dozy is usually used to talk about feeling sleepy in a relaxed or comfortable way, not when you're extremely tired or exhausted.
Eric, do you think dozy is a common word in English?
It's not the most common word, but it's definitely useful. It's a nice way to describe that when you feel lazy or sleepy, especially after eating or spending time in the sun.
I agree. And because it's informal, it's a good word to use with friends or in casual conversations. It's also easy to remember because it sounds a bit like doze, which means to sleep lightly.
That's a great point, Lisa. So remember, if you ever feel sleepy but not completely tired, you can say you're feeling dozy.
Great point, Eric. And now let's move on to our next word.
Sure, Lisa. The next word we're going to explain is to commit.
To commit.
To commit. To commit is a very important and common word in English. It has several meanings, but we're going to learn the two most important ones.
That's right, Eric. The first meaning of to commit is to make a firm decision to do something or to dedicate yourself to a task, person, or idea. For example, he decided to commit to studying every night.
It means that he made a strong decision to study every night and will not let anything stop him from doing so.
Here's another example. She committed to helping her every weekend. It means that she promised to help her community every weekend, and she will do it whatever happens.
Now, let's talk about the second meaning of to commit. It can also mean to do something wrong or illegal, like to commit a crime. For example, the man was arrested because he committed a robbery. It means that the man did something illegal. He robbed someone, and that's why he was arrested.
Another example is, she was nervous because she thought she might commit a mistake during the presentation. It means that she was worried she might do something wrong, like make a mistake during her presentation.
So you can see that to commit can be used in two very different ways. It's important to understand the meaning from the context. Also, remember that after commit, we often use to and then a verb with ing form like commit to studying or commit to helping.
As for the other meaning, to commit something, like to commit a crime or commit suicide.
That's a very good point, Lisa. Now, let's hear a short dialogue to show how commit can be used in a conversation.
Hey Sarah, are you coming to the volunteer event this weekend?
Yes, I've committed to helping out on Saturday. I think it's really important.
That's great. I know when you commit to something, you always do it. By the way, have you heard any recent news? Someone committed a robbery nearby last night.
Oh no, that's terrible. I hope they catch whoever did it.
In the dialogue, we heard commit used in two different ways. First, Sarah committed to helping out at the volunteer event, meaning she promised to do it. Then, David mentioned that someone committed a robbery, meaning they did something illegal.
Yes, and this shows that commit can be a very versatile word, depending on how it's used, like dedicating yourself to something positive or doing something wrong.
Eric, do you think commit is a common word in English?
Yes, Lisa. As I said at the beginning, it's quite common, especially in both formal and informal settings. You'll hear it a lot when people talk about promises, responsibilities, or even crimes. It's a word that's useful to understand in many different contexts.
I agree. And that's why it's important to listen carefully to how it's used in a sentence.
Exactly. Understanding the context will help you understand which meaning is used.
That's it for the word to commit. We hope our listeners understand its meaning. Okay, let's move on to our next word, Eric.
Our next word is to be into.
To be into.
To be into.
It's a common informal expression in English. Isn't it, Eric?
That's right, Lisa. To be into means to like something very much, or to be very interested in it. Let me give an example sentence. John is really into playing guitar.
It means that John really likes playing guitar and spends a lot of time doing it.
Good explanation. Now it's your turn, Lisa. Can you give us another example?
Sure. Here's another example. My sister is into cooking healthy meals. It means that your sister really enjoys cooking healthy food and probably does it often.
That's right. Now, let's talk about how to use this phrase. We often use it with the verb to be, followed by a noun or ing form. We can say, I am into sports, or she is into reading books. Now, let's hear a short dialogue using the phrase to be into.
Hey, Emma. What are you doing this weekend?
I'm going to an art exhibition. I'm really into painting.
Oh, cool. I didn't know you were into art.
Yeah, I've been into it for years. What about you? What are you into?
I'm more into sports. I play soccer every weekend.
That's great. Even though we're into different things, we both have hobbies we enjoy.
That was a great example, Eric. It shows how to be into can be used to talk about hobbies and interests.
Yes, and it also shows that people can be into different things but still be friends.
Absolutely. So, Eric, why do you think this word is useful?
I think it's useful because it's a simple way to talk about what we like. It's very common in everyday conversation.
That's true. And it's informal, right?
Yes, it's definitely more informal. We wouldn't use it in formal writing or speeches.
Also, it helps them sound more natural when talking.
Absolutely, Lisa.
Well, I think we've covered to be into pretty well. And now, let's move on to our last word of today. What's the last word, Eric?
Our last word today is let the cat out of the bag.
Let the cat out of the bag.
Let the cat out of the bag.
This is an interesting idiom in English.
That's right, Lisa. Let the cat out of the bag means to reveal a secret or surprise by accident. For example, John let the cat out of the bag about the surprise party for Sarah.
It means that John accidentally told someone about the surprise party for Sarah.
Good explanation. Can you give us another example, Lisa, now?
Sure. Here's another example. The company tried to keep the new product secret, but an employee let the cat out of the bag during an interview. It means that the employee accidentally gave information about the new product that the company wanted to keep a secret.
Exactly. Now, let's hear a short dialogue saying, let the cat out of the bag.
Anna, I have a secret to tell you, but you can't let the cat out of the bag.
Don't worry. I'm good at keeping secrets.
Okay? I'm planning a surprise vacation for my parents.
That's wonderful. I won't let the cat out of the bag.
Thanks. Last year, my sister let the cat out of the bag about their anniversary party.
Oh no! Well, your secret is safe with me.
In the dialogue, it shows how this phrase is used to talk about keeping and revealing secrets.
Yes, and it also shows that letting the cat out of the bag is usually not a good thing.
Absolutely. So, Eric, is let the cat out of the bag a formal or informal phrase?
It's definitely informal. You wouldn't use it in professional or formal writing. It's also fairly common, especially in casual conversations. People often use it when talking about secrets or surprises. Also, it's useful because it's a colorful way to talk about secrets. It can help learners understand native speakers better and sound more natural.
That makes sense. We hope our listeners found it helpful.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to study today's words. You're doing great.
See you next time.
Bye.
I am Lisa.
And I am Eric. If you improve your English easily, this podcast is perfect for you.
So, let's get started and make English learning easy. What are the words today, Eric?
The first word today is modest. Then we will continue with gradually and to isolate. then to show up. And the final one is no matter what, when, why, etc.
Okay, let's start with the first word, Eric.
The first word is modest.
Modest.
Modest. Modest is an adjective. It describes someone who does not talk too much about their abilities or achievements. A modest person does not brag or show off. For example, if you do something very well but don't tell everyone about it, you are being modest.
Exactly, Eric. When we say someone is modest, we mean they are humble, not too proud, and don't try to get too much attention. Let's look at some example sentences to understand it better.
All right, here's the first example sentence. Even though she won the race, she was very modest about it.
And what does that mean, Eric?
It means that even though she was the winner, she didn't talk too much about her success. She was humble and didn't brag or show off about winning.
Great explanation. Here's another example. He has a modest home in the countryside. It means that he has a small and simple house in the countryside. It's not a big or fancy house, it's plain and humble, as the word modest suggests.
That's right. It's a good word to use when we want to describe something that is not too big, not too showy, and very simple or humble. Now, let's move on to a short dialogue using modest.
Did you know that Mark donated a lot of money to the school?
Really? I didn't know that. He's so modest. He never talks about what he does.
Yes, he is. He always stays quiet about his good deeds.
That's what I like about him. He's modest, even though he has done so much.
I hope that dialogue helps our listeners see how modest is used in everyday conversation. So, Eric, would you say modest is a common word in English?
I think it's quite common, especially when talking about people's behavior, describing places or things. It's a word that's polite and kind to use. You can also use it in casual conversations.
That's true. It's a very positive word to use when you want to describe someone in a nice way.
Exactly. It shows respect for people who are humble and not too proud. So, remember everyone, modest is a great word to describe someone who doesn't show off or something that is simple and humble.
Good summary, Eric. Okay, let's move on to our next word.
The next word is gradually.
Gradually.
Gradually. Gradually is an adverb. It means slowly, step by step, or little by little. When something happens gradually, it happens over time, not all at once. For example, if you are learning a new language, you improve gradually as you practice more.
That's right, Eric. Gradually is used to describe things that change slowly over time, not suddenly. Eric, would you like to give the first example?
Sure. Here's the first example sentence. The weather gradually became warmer as spring arrived. It means that the weather didn't suddenly become warm. It slowly changed and got warmer step by step, and then spring came.
Here's another example. She gradually improved her cooking skills by practicing every day. It means that she got better at cooking slowly over time. She didn't become a great cook in one day. She practiced every day and her skills got better little by little.
Good job, Lisa. It helps us describe actions that happen step by step. Now, let's move on to a short dialogue using gradually.
I want to learn to play the guitar, but it seems so hard.
Don't worry, Sam. If you practice a little every day, you will gradually get better.
Really? So I just need to keep practicing?
Yes, gradually you will see progress. Just be patient.
I hope that dialogue helps our listeners understand how gradually is used in everyday conversation.
Yes, it's a great word to describe things that change or improve step by step. So, Eric, do you think gradually is a common word in English?
I think it's quite common. especially when we talk about learning, improving, or changes that don't happen quickly. It's a useful word to show that something takes time.
Right? And it can be used in both formal and informal situations. For example, you can say, he gradually became more confident in a conversation, or a formal report.
That's true. It's a helpful word when you want to express slow progress. So everyone, remember that gradually is a great word to describe slow, step-by-step changes over time.
Good summary, Eric. Okay, let's move on to the next word.
Okay, Lisa. Our next word is isolate.
Isolate.
Isolate. Isolate is a verb. It means to keep something or someone separate from others.
Yes, and isolate can also mean to keep someone alone, away from social contact or connection.
Good point, Lisa. And isolate is often followed by the preposition from. For example, isolate from others or isolate from the group.
Let's give some example sentences. I'll start. My example sentence is, during the pandemic, many people had to isolate at home. This means that people have to stay at home, away from others, to prevent the spread of the virus.
Exactly. Now, my example. The scientist isolated the cells in the lab for a special study. It means that the scientist kept the cells separate from other things in the lab. They were put in a special place, away from everything else, to study them carefully.
Good example, Eric. Now, let's listen to a short dialogue that uses the word isolate.
Hello, Mrs. Green. I'm calling to let you know that we need to isolate your son Jack for a few days.
Oh no, why do you need to isolate him?
Jack has a cold and we want to make sure he doesn't spread it to the other children.
I understand. I will keep him isolated at home until he feels better.
So, in this dialogue, the word isolate is used when the teacher talks about keeping Jack away from the other children to prevent them from getting sick.
That's right, Eric. Now, let's talk about isolate. Eric, do you think isolate is a common word in English?
I think it became very common during the pandemic. People often talked about self-isolating to stay safe and protect others. It's a useful word to know when talking about health or science.
Yes, I agree. Is it more formal or informal?
I'd say isolate can be both. It's commonly used in both everyday conversation and in more formal writing, like in scientific or medical contexts.
That makes sense. It also, isolate, can be used physically or emotionally. You can isolate a person physically, or you can isolate them socially.
Exactly, Lisa. For example, he isolated himself from his friends because he needed some time alone. It's about being alone, away from others.
So, to our listeners, you can use isolate when talking about keeping things or people separate. It's a great word to expand your vocabulary. Okay, Eric, I think we've explained isolate fairly enough. Shall we move on the next word?
Yes, let's do that, Lisa. The next word is show up.
Show up.
Show up. Show up is a phrasal verb. It means to arrive or appear somewhere, often unexpectedly or after being late. For example, if you are invited to a party and you go there, you show up at the party.
Exactly. It's like saying to come or to arrive. But we use show up when we want to focus on someone actually being there or appearing. Now let's look at some example sentences to understand it better.
Sure. Here's the first example sentence. Tom didn't show up for the meeting yesterday. It means that Tom did not arrive or come to the meeting yesterday. Everyone was expecting him, but he wasn't there.
Here's another example. She always shows up late to class. It means she arrives late for class every time. She does not come on time.
Good example, Lisa. Now, let's move on to a short dialogue using show up.
Did you see Lisa at the party last night?
No, she didn't show up. I was waiting, but she never came.
Really? She told me she would definitely show up. Maybe something came up.
Maybe. I hope she's okay. Next time. I hope she shows up on time.
It was a useful dialogue that helps you see how show up is used in everyday conversation.
Yes, it's a very useful phrasal verb to know. So, Lisa, would you say show up is a common phrase in English?
Oh, absolutely. We use it all the time. It's very informal and friendly, perfect for talking with friends or family.
And it can also be used in more serious situations. For example, if someone doesn't show up for an important appointment, it could be a problem.
That's true. So, it's important to learn because you can use it in many casual and serious situations.
Exactly. So, remember everyone, show up means to arrive or come somewhere. It's a simple but very handy phrase.
Well, it is time to explain today's last word.
Yes, Lisa. The last phrase we have is no matter what, when, why, etc.
No matter what, when, why, etc.
This is a very useful phrase in English. We use no matter to say that something is important or true in any situation. For example, no matter what means it doesn't change what happens. No matter when means it doesn't change when it happens. And no matter why means it doesn't change why it happens.
Wow, Eric, you explain it in a very nice way.
Thank you, Lisa. I hope our listeners understood it as well.
I hope so, Eric. Okay, let's look at some examples to understand it better.
Sure, here's the first example sentence. I will help you no matter what. It means that I will help you in any situation. It doesn't matter what happens. I will always be there to help. I will help in every case.
Great explanation. Here's my example. We will finish the project on time, no matter how hard it is.
What does that mean, Lisa?
It means we will complete the project by the deadline, even if it is very difficult.
Good job, Lisa. And there's a small grammar point here. After no matter, we use words like what, when, where, who, how, or why to show different situations. This is a fixed structure, and it always comes with these question words.
Exactly. It's a strong way to say something will happen in any condition. Now, let's move on to a short dialogue using no matter what.
We have to complete this project by Friday.
Yes, and we will do it, no matter what.
That's right. No matter how tired we are, we must keep working until it's done.
Agreed. Let's make sure we finish it on time, no matter what happens.
It was a really good dialogue. I liked it very much. You can see how no matter what is used in conversation to show determination or a strong decision.
Yes, it's a very strong phrase to show commitment. So, Lisa, do you think no matter what is a common phrase in English?
Definitely. It's very common in both spoken and written English. It's a bit informal, so we often use it in daily conversations with friends or family.
And it's very useful when you want to show that you are sure about something, like saying, I'll be there no matter what. It shows you really mean it.
So, no matter what shows strong decisions or determination in any situation.
Yes, Lisa. Well, I think we have reached the end of today's episode.
Unfortunately, yes. I hope our listeners have learned new words today.
I hope so, Lisa. Okay, thanks for listening. Don't forget to study today's words. You're doing great.
See you next time.
Bye.